The voices from inside the dorm room were a familiar, grating sound. Mark was at it again, his tone dripping with a smug sort of disbelief. He was commenting on the flowers someone had left for Leo, wondering aloud how a guy who couldn't speak a word still managed to get that kind of attention. I saw Leo hesitating in the hallway, his shoulders hunched, clearly waiting for them to finish before he went in. He did this a lot, trying to make himself smaller, invisible. It always ignited a slow burn of anger deep in my gut. I moved up behind him, the heat from my body radiating in the cool hallway. I leaned down, my voice a low murmur right beside his ear, asking him why he was waiting out here. The air I breathed out was warm against his skin, and I saw a shiver run through him. Before he could even begin to form a reply with his hands, the voices inside grew louder, sharper. Chris chimed in, speculating with a crude laugh about what it would be like to sleep with him, comparing it to a silent movie. Then they pivoted to money, suggesting Leo must have a rich benefactor, because how else could a student on financial aid afford anything? The insults were nothing new, but seeing Leo stand there and absorb them made something in my chest tighten. His expression was blank, but I could see the tension in his posture. My own face grew hot with a rage that wasn't mine. I saw red. My knuckles whitened as I prepared to shove the door open and shut them up for good. Just as I moved, a small, surprisingly strong pair of hands shot up and covered my mouth. The touch was a shock. His palms were soft against my lips. My first thought wasn't annoyance, but an odd, jolting awareness of the contact. He was trying to protect me from getting into a fight, trying to keep the peace even when he was the one being torn down. I watched him pull out his phone, his thumbs flying across the screen. "It's fine. I'll just go in later." I looked down at him, at the earnest concern in his eyes. My anger started to recede, replaced by a confusing warmth that spread across my face. He must think I'm some kind of saint, getting this worked up on his behalf. He typed again, a sincere message thanking me and telling me what a good person I was. The words felt like a brand. If only he knew. I gently took the phone from his hands, my fingers brushing his. I typed back a slow, deliberate message. "Leo, how long are you planning on keeping your hand over my mouth?" A blush crept up his neck as he snatched his hands back. I gave him a small, reassuring nod before pushing the door open. I didn't say a word to them. Instead, I walked in and kicked a desk chair, sending it skidding across the floor where it slammed into Mark's shin. I offered him a cold, insincere apology, asking if he was all right. He just gave a pained, nervous laugh and said nothing more. They both knew who I was. They knew my father had donated the new science wing on the first day of freshman orientation. They knew not to push back. I grabbed my towel and headed for the showers, needing the steam to clear my head. As the hot water washed over me, my phone vibrated on the counter. A picture popped up from a familiar number. It was Buster, the little three-legged terrier I'd adopted, looking ridiculous and happy in a tiny blue sweater. The text followed a second later. "Sweetheart, the sweater you got for him fits perfectly. He looks so cute." That was him, Leo. The quiet, withdrawn roommate I felt this frustrating need to protect, and the sweet, open person I texted every day who knew me only as Alex. I had adopted Buster after Leo found him injured on the side of the road and posted an adoption call on the campus message board. I'd sent a friend to pick the dog up, keeping my identity a secret. Our conversations had started with updates about Buster, but they had slowly, inevitably, become something more. He was my friend, the one person I could talk to without the weight of the Sterling family name hanging over me. I texted back, telling him Buster was just as cute as his favorite person, and that our 100th day of knowing each other was coming up. I suggested that we should finally meet. His reply was a simple, "Okay." My heart hammered against my ribs with a mixture of terror and exhilaration. The next afternoon, I was scrolling through the university's confession page when a post made me freeze. It was an offer, written like a joke, to transfer ownership of an online boyfriend. The description was chillingly specific. Great hands, has abs, very generous. No face pictures shared. It had to be me. He was going to meet me in 2 days. A hot, bitter wave of betrayal washed over me. He was getting rid of me. I felt my expression harden into a mask of cold fury. Just then, Leo emerged from his room, looking rumpled from sleep. My 2 roommates were already giving him the side-eye. I called out his name, my voice sharper than I intended. The use of his actual name in front of the others, not the nickname I used in our texts, made him flinch. The room went silent. He gave a jerky nod and darted into the bathroom. I followed him. He was washing his face, and I closed the door behind us, trapping him in the small space. I told him I needed to use the toilet, that he should just keep washing his face, I didn't mind. He tried to leave, but I blocked his path, my voice low and insistent. He turned back to the sink, his movements stiff and uncertain. While the water ran, I stepped closer, my body almost flush against his back. I reached around him, my hand brushing his waist as I tugged the hem of his t-shirt away from the spray of water. I commented on how thin his waist was, my words a mix of genuine concern and something darker, more possessive. He just shuddered and washed his face faster. Later, in our shared macroeconomics lecture, I heard people whispering about the confession post. I leaned over to Leo and asked him what he thought about it. He pulled out his phone, typing that he found it deeply immoral to betray someone's feelings like that, but added that perhaps the poster had their reasons. My jaw tightened. I asked him what possible reason could justify it. He deleted his text and started again. I didn't let him finish. I leaned in closer and asked him, if the person were him, what would he do? He typed furiously that he would never do something like that. I let out a short, harsh laugh that held no warmth. He looked up at me, confused, and typed a question about whether I was having a bad day. I told him I'd been dumped. Then I looked him straight in the eye and asked if he thought I was a good person. I asked him if someone like him could ever like someone like me. The question hung in the air between us. He looked down, his fingers hovering over his phone before slowly typing out that he wasn't worthy of liking anyone. A raw, violent anger surged through me. I reached out and cupped his jaw, forcing his face up to meet mine. My voice was a fierce whisper when I told him never to think that way about himself. That night, everything came to a head. I returned to the dorm to find Mark and Chris cornering Leo again, mocking him about a new watch on his desk. Something in me snapped. I threw the first punch, tackling Mark to the ground, my fists connecting with a sickening thud. Leo was instantly there, pulling at my arm, his eyes wide with panic as he shook his head, begging me to stop. I stood up, breathing heavily, the metallic tang of blood in my mouth. My knuckles were split open. As I stood there, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Alex, from me sent earlier that day. "Baby, I can't wait anymore. I'm coming to find you. I'm already on campus." Leo's eyes fell on the screen. The color drained from his face. His breath hitched, and a wave of pure terror washed over him. He started backing away, shaking his head, his hands trembling so violently he couldn't type. He was having a full-blown panic attack. My anger evaporated, replaced by a cold dread. He wasn't cruel, he was terrified. I reached for him, but he flinched. His desperate, silent gasps were the most painful sound I had ever heard. I grabbed his arms gently, pulling him toward me, holding him tight as he trembled uncontrollably. I buried my face in his hair, murmuring apologies, telling him it was me, that I was so sorry. I told him my middle name was Alexander, that everyone used to call me Alex, that it had always been me. He went still in my arms. Then his fist weakly thumped against my chest. I let him hit me twice before I caught his hand, pressing his balled-up fist against my heart. I explained everything, how I hadn't wanted him to like me because of my family or my name, but just for me. I held his face in my hands, our foreheads touching, and begged him to forgive me. After a long, shuddering silence, he gave the slightest nod. Relief washed over me in a dizzying wave, and I kissed him, a desperate, clumsy collision of lips that was both an apology and a promise. The next morning was strange. I woke up first and just watched him sleep. When he finally opened his eyes and saw me, he jumped. I felt a pang of guilt. I softened my voice, calling him sweetheart, telling him I'd bought breakfast. He was still processing, so I told him I knew this was a lot, but I had a way to make the transition easier. When he looked at me quizzically, I pulled him onto my lap and kissed him until he was breathless and blushing. Later, when things were calmer, I asked him about the panic attack. I told him he didn't have to talk about it with me, but I wanted to help. I offered to find a good therapist, someone he could trust. I told him all I wanted was for him to be healthy and happy. He just looked at me, his eyes searching my face. I found myself thinking back to the first day of school, how I had strode into the dorm like I owned the place, arrogant and dismissive, complaining about his worn-out duffel bag. He had looked so small then. He looked at me now with an intensity that made me feel like the one who was exposed. A few days later, I brought him to my off-campus apartment to see Buster. The dog remembered him, yelping with joy and covering him in kisses. We stood by the window, watching the late winter sun melt the last of the snow. The air felt charged with the promise of spring. I knelt down to pet Buster, telling Leo that I'd always planned to let my future boyfriend help name the dog, but it was too late now. He was convinced his name was Meatball. I called the name, and Buster's tail went into overdrive. For the first time, I heard a sound from Leo, a small, choked-off laugh. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever heard. I stood up and asked him to stay the night. I saw the flash of uncertainty in his eyes and quickly clarified, a faint heat rising in my own cheeks. I just meant, I wanted to cook him dinner. I wanted to start for real.